Hello friends, welcome to Certification Terminal, your ultimate destination for all certifications. We are thrilled to have you here. Today, we're diving into CISA's cutting-edge Certified Information Systems Auditor (CISA) Certification Practice Exam Series. Question number 1. What is the best way to verify whether the security features of an operating system are working correctly or not? Option A. Reviewing the vendor installation guide. Option B. Reviewing the system generation parameters. Option C. Consulting with the system programmer. Option D. Consulting with the vendor. The correct answer is Option B. Reviewing the system generation parameters. This option is the most effective because system generation parameters dictate how the operating system functions and what controls are in place. By reviewing these parameters, you can directly assess whether controls are configured as intended and functioning properly. It provides a detailed understanding of the system's configuration and control mechanisms. Question number 2. Which audit technique provides the most reliable insights into the actual segregation of duties practiced in an information security department? Option A. Observation and employee interviews. Option B. Testing of user access controls. Option C. Security policies review. Option D. Organization chart and roles and responsibilities review. The correct answer is Option A. Observation and employee interviews. Watching employees perform their tasks allows the auditor to see firsthand if individuals are handling conflicting duties. Documentation can look perfect on paper, but observing real-world practices reveals potential issues. Talking to employees provides valuable information about their actual responsibilities and how they interact with the system. This can uncover gaps or overlaps in duties that might not be documented. Question number 3. In a risk-based audit, what factors, besides inherent risk, influence the scope and focus of an information security auditor's procedures? Option A. Organizational structure and job responsibilities. Option B. The existence of internal and operational controls. Option C. Management's representation. Option D. All of the above. The correct answer is Option D. All of the above. Management's representation provides insights into their understanding and approach to managing risks within the organization. This helps auditors assess the effectiveness of risk management practices. Understanding the organization's structure and job responsibilities is crucial for assessing how risks are distributed across different departments and levels within the organization. It helps auditors identify areas of potential vulnerability or gaps in control. The presence and effectiveness of internal and operational controls are essential considerations for information security auditors. These controls help mitigate identified risks or reduce their potential impact. Auditors need to evaluate the adequacy and effectiveness of these controls in managing the identified risks. Question number 4. What audit technique would be most effective for a CISA to identify payroll discrepancies within a year's worth of payroll data? Option A. Use embedded audit module. Option B. Use generalized audit software. Option C. Use integrated test facility. Option D. Generate sample test data. The correct answer is Option B. Use generalized audit software. Generalized audit software, often abbreviated as GAS, allows auditors to perform various audit tasks, including analyzing large volumes of data efficiently. It can be used to extract, analyze, and compare payroll data to identify overpayments accurately. Question number 5. When evaluating the organization's ability to manage the application internally, which deficiency would cause the most significant roadblocks? Option A. The vendor development team is located overseas. Option B. The data model is not clearly documented. Option C. A training plan for business users has not been developed. Option D. The cost of outsourcing is lower than in-house development. The correct answer is Option B. The data model is not clearly documented. A clear documentation of the data model is crucial for understanding how data is structured and utilized within the application. Without clear documentation, the organization may face significant challenges in maintaining, modifying, and troubleshooting the application. This deficiency can lead to inefficiencies, errors, and difficulties in adapting the application to changing business requirements. Therefore, addressing the lack of clear documentation of the data model is essential for ensuring the organization's ability to effectively manage the application internally. Question number 6. What is the CISA's priority after discovering that a critical aspect of IT security, documented procedures, is missing from an audit? Option A, help IT department create the required procedures. Option B, conduct substantive testing. Option C, identify and evaluate existing practices. Option D, halt the audit. The correct answer is Option C, identify and evaluate existing practices. Documented procedures are ideal, but the absence doesn't necessarily mean there are no security practices in place. The CISA should first investigate and understand the current security practices, even if they aren't formally documented. By observing and interviewing IT staff, the CISA can assess how well the existing practices function in mitigating security risks. The evaluation will reveal the strengths and weaknesses of the undocumented practices. This information helps the CISA determine the next steps, such as recommending the creation of formal documentation or suggesting improvements to existing procedures. Question number 7. During a review of a business continuity plan, an information security auditor noticed that the point at which a situation is declared to be a crisis has not been defined. What is the major risk associated with this? Option A, potential crisis recognition might be ineffective. Option B, execution of the disaster recovery plan could be impacted. Option C, assessment of the situation may be delayed. Option D, notification of the teams might not occur. The correct answer is Option B, execution of the disaster recovery plan could be impacted. The business continuity plan often references the disaster recovery plan for specific actions during a crisis. If the crisis criteria aren't defined, triggering the disaster recovery plan and initiating recovery procedures could be delayed or inconsistent. Choices A, C, and D are steps that must be performed to know whether to declare a crisis. Problem and severity assessment would provide information necessary in declaring a disaster. Once a potential crisis is recognized, the teams responsible for crisis management need to be notified. Delaying this step until a disaster has been declared would negate the effect of having response teams. Potential crisis recognition is the first step in responding to a disaster. Question number 8. While reviewing the scope for an IT systems review, a CISA discovers the prior audit included several new applications, including a CRM implemented last year. A new ERP has also been implemented, but the IT manager wants the audit to focus on the customer-facing CRM due to complaints. How should the CISA respond? Option A, audit all the systems. Option B, audit only the ERP application as it has significant controls. Option C, audit only the CRM system as it is part of the scope. Option D, find the highest risk systems and plan audit based on these results. The correct answer is Option D, find the highest risk systems and plan audit based on these results. When faced with the situation described, the CISA should prioritize auditing based on risk. This involves assessing the criticality and potential impact of each system, considering factors such as the level of exposure to threats, vulnerabilities, and the importance of each system to business operations. While the CRM system is experiencing complaints and is customer-facing, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the highest risk. By conducting a risk assessment, the CISA can identify the systems with the greatest potential impact on the organization and focus audit efforts accordingly. This approach ensures that audit resources are effectively allocated to address the most significant risks to the organization's IT systems. Question number 9. What does a CISA aim to achieve by conducting a compliance test to determine whether controls support management policies and procedures. Option A, check that the control is operating as needed. Option B, check the integrity of data controls. Option C, review the reporting controls. Option D, review the control objective. The correct answer is Option A, check that the control is operating as needed. By conducting a compliance test to determine whether controls support management policies and procedures, the CISA aims to check that the controls are operating as needed. This means verifying if the controls are actually functioning effectively to ensure compliance with the established policies and procedures. Compliance testing focuses on verifying if implemented controls are effective in achieving their intended objectives. Management policies and procedures outline desired organizational behavior or actions. Controls are mechanisms put in place to ensure adherence to those policies and procedures. Question number 10. In a large data center, what strategy offers the most significant and sustainable reduction in operational expenses over time? Option A, staff rotation. Option B, server consolidation. Option C, job scheduling software. Option D, power conditioning. The correct answer is Option B, server consolidation. Server consolidation involves reducing the physical number of servers by virtualizing them onto fewer powerful machines. This significantly reduces hardware acquisition and maintenance costs. Fewer physical servers translate to less energy usage for powering and cooling them. This leads to substantial savings on electricity bills over time. Server consolidation allows for better utilization of server resources, eliminating situations where underutilized servers consume power unnecessarily. With fewer physical servers to manage, automation tools become more effective, leading to reduced staff workload and potentially lower personnel costs, although not through staff rotation as mentioned in another option. Question number 11. What development practices are most effective in achieving high-quality software? Option A, by determining the amount of testing using the available time and budget. Option B, by finding and quickly correcting programming errors. Option C, through thorough testing. Option D, by applying well-defined processes and structured reviews throughout the project. The correct answer is Option D, by applying well-defined processes and structured reviews throughout the project. Well-defined processes establish a clear roadmap for development, ensuring tasks are completed in a logical and organized manner. This reduces the risk of errors and omissions. Structured reviews involving code reviews, design reviews, and other quality checks throughout the development lifecycle help identify and address potential issues early on. This prevents errors from propagating to later stages, saving time and resources in the long run. Defined processes ensure consistency in development practices across the team. This leads to more predictable outcomes and reduces the likelihood of quality regressions. Question number 12. What communication strategies are most effective in minimizing the risk of misunderstandings between online businesses and their customers? Option A, compression software to minimize transmission duration. Option B, least asynchronous transfer mode lines. Option C, functional or message acknowledgements. Option D, a packet filtering firewall to reroute messages. The correct answer is Option C, functional or message acknowledgements. Functional acknowledgements confirm that a message has been received and understood. This two-way communication reduces the risk of messages being lost or misinterpreted, which can lead to misunderstandings. By acknowledging messages, the business demonstrates responsiveness and can proactively address any potential confusion before it escalates into a larger issue. Question number 13. What is the primary element to establish first when initiating a control self-assessment program in a small organization? Option A, facilitated workshops. Option B, external consultants. Option C, control baselines. Option D, client questionnaires. The correct answer is Option D, client questionnaires. When initiating a control self-assessment program in a small organization, it's essential to first establish client questionnaires. Client questionnaires provide a structured approach to gather information about the organization's controls directly from stakeholders or employees. This step allows the organization to gain insights into existing control frameworks, identify potential areas of improvement, and tailor the subsequent phases of the self-assessment program accordingly. Client questionnaires serve as a foundational element for understanding the organization's control environment and are typically the initial step in the process before further actions such as defining control baselines or engaging external consultants. Question number 14. Which development approach is most effective in achieving faster delivery, reduced costs, and high quality for strategically important systems? Option A, Gantt. Option B, PERT. Option C, decision trees. Option D, rapid application development. The correct answer is Option D, rapid application development. Rapid application development emphasizes iterative development with frequent user feedback loops. This allows for early identification and correction of issues, leading to higher quality in the final product. By prioritizing core functionalities and iteratively building upon them, rapid application development can deliver working systems faster compared to traditional approaches. The iterative approach reduces rework and the risk of late-stage feature changes, potentially leading to cost savings. Question number 15. Why would a CISA request a meeting with top management to discuss findings after reviewing the disaster recovery planning process of an organization? Option A, to ensure factual accuracy of the findings. Option B, to ensure management implement corrective actions. Option C, to review audit scope and objectives. Option D, to halt the audit as process is inadequate. The correct answer is Option B, to ensure management implement corrective actions. After reviewing the disaster recovery planning process of an organization, a CISA would request a meeting with top management to discuss findings primarily to ensure that management implements corrective actions. This meeting allows the CISA to communicate their observations and recommendations directly to top management, emphasizing the importance of addressing any deficiencies or weaknesses identified in the disaster recovery planning process. By engaging with top management, the CISA can facilitate the implementation of corrective actions, thereby enhancing the organization's overall resilience and preparedness for potential disasters. Question number 16. What is the best way to determine whether information security functions support the organization's business objectives? Option A, information security has proper control over outsourcing partners. Option B, information security plans are designed as per business objectives. Option C, all resources are utilized effectively and efficiently. Option D, information security has latest available equipments. The correct answer is Option B, information security plans are designed as per business objectives. Information security functions should exist to serve the organization's broader business objectives. Aligning information security plans with these objectives ensures that technology investments and initiatives directly contribute to achieving strategic goals. When information security plans are designed based on business objectives, they prioritize initiatives that address specific business needs, challenges, or opportunities. This ensures that information security resources are used effectively to support core business activities. By aligning information security plans with business objectives, it becomes easier to establish measurable outcomes. This allows for tracking progress and demonstrating the value of information security functions in achieving desired business results. Question number 17. In order to accurately assess how a system or organization would respond under load, what environment is best suited for stress testing? Option A, production environment using test data. Option B, test environment using live workloads. Option C, test environment using test data. Option D, production environment using live workloads. The correct answer is Option B, test environment using live workloads. Using live workloads, realistic data mimicking real-world usage, in a test environment allows for a more accurate simulation of actual system behavior under pressure. This provides valuable insights into potential bottlenecks and performance limitations. A test environment offers a controlled setting where failures or disruptions won't impact real users or critical operations. This allows for pushing the system beyond normal usage patterns and observing its behavior without causing real-world problems. While live workloads are used, the test environment typically utilizes non-critical data copies to avoid compromising sensitive production data. Question number 18. What aspect of a LAN implementation should an information security auditor prioritize during their initial review? Option A, acceptance test report. Option B, network diagram. Option C, node list. Option D, users list. The correct answer is Option B, network diagram. A network diagram provides a visual representation of the LAN infrastructure, including devices, nodes, connections, and their interrelationships. This diagram is crucial for understanding the LAN architecture, identifying potential vulnerabilities, and assessing the overall network design. It helps the information security auditor to grasp the layout of the LAN, understand how data flows within the network, and identify critical components such as routers, switches, servers, and endpoints. By prioritizing the review of the network diagram, the information security auditor can gain insights into the LAN topology and effectively evaluate its design, configuration, and security controls. This understanding forms the basis for further assessment of the LAN implementation and identification of potential risks or areas for improvement. Question number 19. What is the primary objective of an information security auditor when conducting a review of application controls? Option A, effectiveness of controls. Option B, impact of exposure. Option C, process controls. Option D, application of access controls. The correct answer is Option A, effectiveness of controls. When conducting a review of application controls, the primary objective of an information security auditor is typically to assess the effectiveness of those controls. This involves evaluating whether the controls in place are adequate to mitigate risks related to the security, integrity, and availability of the application and its associated data. By examining the effectiveness of controls, the information security auditor can determine whether the application is properly safeguarded against unauthorized access, data manipulation, or other security threats. Assessing control effectiveness allows the auditor to identify any weaknesses or deficiencies that may exist and make recommendations for improvements to enhance the overall security posture of the application. Question number 20. When evaluating the proposed approach for implementing a new commercial financial system, what is the most significant concern to address, considering the existing in-house system and the involvement of an external consulting firm? Option A, a quality plan is not part of the contracted deliverables. Option B, prototyping is being used to confirm that the system meets business requirements. Option C, acceptance testing is to be managed by users. Option D, not all business functions will be available on initial implementation. The correct answer is Option A, a quality plan is not part of the contracted deliverables. A quality plan outlines the processes and procedures for ensuring the new financial system meets defined standards for functionality, performance, and security. Without a documented quality plan, there's a risk of errors, defects, or inconsistencies going undetected during development, potentially leading to issues after implementation. A quality plan typically defines activities like code reviews, testing strategies, and defect management procedures. These activities help mitigate risks associated with software development and contribute to the overall quality of the delivered system. The absence of a quality plan makes it difficult to assess the development process, track progress toward quality goals, or hold the consulting firm accountable for delivering a high-quality system. Question number 21. Which characteristic should be prioritized by a CISA when selecting a CAT tool for evaluating the security configuration of multiple systems within an organization? Option A, Decision Support System. Option B, Generalized Audit Software. Option C, Data Analytics Tool. Option D, Utility Software. The correct answer is Option B, Generalized Audit Software. When selecting a CAATT, Computer-Assisted Audit Techniques and Tools, for evaluating the security configuration of multiple systems within an organization, a CISA, Certified Information Systems Auditor, should prioritize Generalized Audit Software. Generalized Audit Software is specifically designed to assist auditors in performing a variety of audit tasks, including testing security configurations, analyzing data, and assessing compliance with security policies and standards. These tools are typically versatile and customizable, allowing auditors to tailor their analysis to the specific needs of the organization. While data analytics tools and decision support systems may have some relevance in auditing processes, they may not be specifically tailored to the needs of auditing security configurations. Utility software, on the other hand, is generally more focused on performing specific tasks, rather than providing comprehensive audit capabilities. Therefore, a generalized audit software tool would be the most appropriate choice for a CISA when evaluating the security configuration of multiple systems within an organization. Question number 22. What is the most important benefit achieved by using digital signatures on electronic data? Option A, privacy. Option B, integrity. Option C, availability. Option D, confidentiality. The correct answer is Option B, integrity. The most important benefit achieved by using digital signatures on electronic data is integrity. Digital signatures provide assurance that the electronic data has not been altered or tampered with since it was digitally signed. This ensures the integrity of the data, meaning that it remains complete, unaltered, and reliable. This is crucial for verifying the authenticity of electronic documents, transactions, and communications, especially in contexts where data integrity is paramount, such as in legal, financial, and business transactions. While privacy, availability, and confidentiality are also important aspects of information security, they are not directly addressed by digital signatures, which primarily serve to ensure the integrity and authenticity of electronic data. Question number 23. To verify the accuracy of a financial tax calculation, what tools or techniques would be most beneficial for a CISA to employ during their review? Option A, through review and analysis of the source code of the calculation programs. Option B, using generalized audit software to calculate monthly totals. Option C, prepare a simulated transaction for processing and comparing the results to predetermined. Option D, review documentation of the calculation system. The correct answer is Option C, prepare a simulated transaction for processing and comparing the results to predetermined. Simulated transactions allow the CISA to test specific tax scenarios with controlled data. This directly assesses the system's ability to handle various tax situations and identify potential errors in the calculation logic. Compared to reviewing the entire source code, simulated transactions offer a more efficient way to pinpoint calculation errors. By comparing the calculated tax amount to a predetermined outcome based on known tax rules and rates, the CISA can effectively verify the system's accuracy for that particular scenario. Question number 24. A CISA is evaluating data mining and auditing software for upcoming information security audits. What is the most critical factor to consider when making the initial selection? Option A, capture data accurately from systems without causing performance problems. Option B, provide audit hooks to support continuous auditing. Option C, provide the right data for sampling through interfaces with organization systems. Option D, support customized audit programming to assist in investigative analysis. The correct answer is Option C, provide the right data for sampling through interfaces with organization systems. Having access to the right data is fundamental for conducting effective audits. Software that can seamlessly interface with organization systems to retrieve relevant data for sampling ensures that auditors have access to the necessary information to assess the effectiveness and integrity of the information systems. Without access to the right data, audits may lack the depth and accuracy needed to identify potential risks, vulnerabilities, or compliance issues within the organization. Therefore, prioritizing software that facilitates easy access to relevant data is essential for successful information security audits. Question number 25. To establish a strong information security posture, an organization should have a well-defined security policy. Which of the following belongs most crucially within this policy? Option A, the basis for access authorization. Option B, identity of sensitive security features. Option C, relevant software security features. Option D, a list of key IT resources to be secured. The correct answer is Option A, the basis for access authorization. Access authorization defines the rules and procedures for determining who has access to specific IT resources and what level of access they are granted, read, write, modify, etc. This is fundamental for information security, as it controls who can interact with sensitive data and systems. A well-defined access authorization policy helps mitigate risks associated with unauthorized access, data breaches, and insider threats. By establishing clear guidelines for user access, the organization limits exposure to sensitive information and minimizes the potential for misuse. Many regulations and compliance frameworks require organizations to have documented access authorization procedures. A well-defined policy demonstrates adherence to these requirements. Question number 26. During a system examination, a CISA encounters numerous PCs with unauthorized software. What is the most critical step for the auditor to address this situation? Option A, report to the management on the usage of this unauthorized software and the need for controls. Option B, halt the audit until all unauthorized software is removed. Option C, inform all the auditees and ask them to delete the same. Option D, inform the IT department and ask them to take action. The correct answer is Option A, report to the management on the usage of this unauthorized software and the need for controls. Unauthorized software poses security risks and can potentially violate licensing agreements. Management needs to be aware of the issue to make informed decisions and take appropriate action. Simply informing users or IT might not address the underlying reasons why unauthorized software is being installed. Reporting to management allows for a more comprehensive investigation into the root cause and implementation of preventative controls. Unauthorized software is a security concern. By reporting the issue to management, the auditor is escalating a potential risk that needs to be addressed. Question number 26. During a system examination, a CISA encounters numerous PCs with unauthorized software. What is the most critical step for the auditor to address this situation? Option A, report to the management on the usage of this unauthorized software and the need for controls. Option B, halt the audit until all unauthorized software is removed. Option C, inform all the auditees and ask them to delete the same. Option D, inform the IT department and ask them to take action. The correct answer is Option A, report to the management on the usage of this unauthorized software and the need for controls. Unauthorized software poses security risks and can potentially violate licensing agreements. Management needs to be aware of the issue to make informed decisions and take appropriate action. Simply informing users or IT might not address the underlying reasons why unauthorized software is being installed. Reporting to management allows for a more comprehensive investigation into the root cause and implementation of preventative controls. Unauthorized software is a security concern. By reporting the issue to management, the auditor is escalating a potential risk that needs to be addressed. Question number 28. What type of attack is capable of capturing passwords used by network users? Option A, sniffing. Option B, data diddling. Option C, IP spoofing. Option D, surfing. The correct answer is Option A, sniffing. Sniffing is a form of passive eavesdropping on a network, where an attacker intercepts and examines network traffic, including unencrypted passwords, as it travels across the network. This interception can occur on wired or wireless networks. Sniffing attacks are particularly effective in capturing passwords because they allow attackers to see plaintext credentials sent over the network. Once captured, these passwords can be used for unauthorized access to network resources, sensitive information, or other malicious activities. Question number 29. Which of the following could be considered as most reliable source when an information security auditor is reviewing evidence during an audit? Option A, confirmation received from a customer. Option B, an auditee providing oral evidence during interview. Option C, a system-generated accounting report. Option D, sample data results from an external information security auditor. The correct answer is Option D, sample data results from an external information security auditor. Sample data results from an external information security auditor come from a source independent of the organization being audited. This independence reduces the risk of bias or manipulation of the data. External auditors are expected to maintain objectivity in their data collection and analysis. Their sample results can provide a neutral perspective on the organization's controls and processes. External auditors typically follow established methodologies for data sampling and analysis. This allows the information security auditor to understand the context and limitations of the sample data. Question number 30. What is the role of an information security auditor in supporting the management's control self-assessment program? Option A, program partner. Option B, program facilitator. Option C, program manager. Option D, program in charge. The correct answer is Option B, program facilitator. A control self-assessment program relies on process owners and relevant personnel within the organization to assess the effectiveness of their own controls. An information security auditor acts as a facilitator by guiding this process, providing training, and ensuring a structured approach to self-assessment. Information security auditors should not be directly responsible for completing the control assessments. This could introduce bias as they might be pressured to find weaknesses or overlook certain issues. Facilitation allows for a more objective self-assessment process. Question number 31. What would be the most important consideration when scheduling the next audit, following numerous findings in an organization's IT department during the annual audit cycle? Option A, verifying that all recommendations have been implemented. Option B, following up on the status of all recommendations. Option C, limiting the review to the deficient areas. Option D, postponing the review until all of the findings have been rectified. The correct answer is Option B, following up on the status of all recommendations. The numerous findings from the previous audit highlight potential weaknesses in the IT department's controls. Following up on the recommendations ensures that the organization has taken steps to address these weaknesses and mitigate the associated risks. The status of implemented recommendations can inform the scope of the next audit. If all recommendations have been effectively addressed, the next audit might focus on broader IT controls. However, if significant findings remain unaddressed, the next audit might need to revisit these areas in more detail. Question number 32. What would be the first step for an information security auditor called in to conduct an audit in an organization that is implementing an ERP system across key functions? Option A, add ERP into the scope of the audit charter. Option B, ask for all ERP controls in various functions. Option C, study the functions being displaced by the ERP system and its controls. Option D, study the implementation impact of a new ERP in, and then prepare the audit plan. The correct answer is Option D, study the implementation impact of a new ERP in, and then prepare the audit plan. This is the most crucial initial step, because understanding the current state of the system and the controls in place is essential. The auditor needs to know what processes and controls are being replaced by the ERP system to effectively assess the impact of the new system and design the audit plan accordingly. Question number 33. What IT decisions are most likely to require assessment in light of new regulations that restrict cross-border data transfer of personally identifiable information in the organization's jurisdiction? Option A, hosting the payroll system at an external cloud service provider. Option B, purchasing cyber insurance from an overseas insurance company. Option C, hiring IT consultants from overseas. Option D, applying encryption to database hosting PII data. The correct answer is Option A, hosting the payroll system at an external cloud service provider. The new regulations restrict cross-border data transfer of PII. Payroll systems typically contain a significant amount of PII, such as employee names, addresses, social security numbers, and bank account details. If the cloud service provider is located in a different jurisdiction, with weaker data privacy laws than the organization's, transferring payroll data to them could violate the new regulations. Question number 34. What type of control does an organization implement when it mandates new employees to undergo training regarding relevant privacy and data protection regulations? Option A, directive control. Option B, preventive control. Option C, corrective control. Option D, detective control. The correct answer is Option B, preventive control. Preventive controls aim to prevent security incidents from happening in the first place. By educating employees about privacy regulations and data handling procedures, the organization proactively reduces the risk of accidental or intentional data breaches or misuse. Question number 35. Once a CISA completes a risk analysis and understands the threats and their potential consequences, what action should be taken next to address these risks? Option A, identify and evaluate the existing controls. Option B, identify information assets. Option C, assess the risk assessment process. Option D, review risks and potential threats. The correct answer is Option A. Identify and evaluate the existing controls. Identifying and evaluating existing controls is a crucial step in the risk management process that follows risk identification. It helps assess how well equipped the organization is to mitigate the identified threats. The goal is to address the risks identified in the analysis. Evaluating existing controls allows the CISA to see if current safeguards are sufficient to counter the threats or if additional controls are needed. Question number 36. Which type of audit focuses on testing controls to ensure compliance with regulations or industry standards? Option A. Forensic audit. Option B. Compliance audit. Option C. Financial audit. Option D. Operational audit. The correct answer is Option B. Compliance audit. A compliance audit is specifically designed to assess whether an organization is adhering to external regulations, laws, and industry standards. The primary focus of a compliance audit is to evaluate the extent to which an organization's policies, procedures, and operations comply with external laws, regulations, and industry standards. These standards could include government regulations, industry-specific guidelines, contractual obligations, or internal policies. Question number 37. Which step is most crucial for an information security auditor when planning an effective information systems audit? Option A. Identifying the areas of significant risk. Option B. Identifying the audit schedule. Option C. Identifying the audit members. Option D. Identifying the audit scope. The correct answer is Option A. Identifying the areas of significant risk. Identifying the areas of significant risk is the most crucial step when planning an effective information systems audit. It enables a targeted, risk-based approach to auditing that focuses on the most critical areas of concern for the organization's information systems environment. Question number 38. What control method is considered most effective for ensuring the seamless transition of an application program from the test environment to the production environment? Option A. Production control group copy the source program to the production libraries and then compile the program. Option B. Application programmer copy the source program to the production libraries and then have the production control group compile the program. Option C. Production control group compile the object module to the production libraries using the source program in the test environment. Option D. Application programmer copy the source program and compile object module to the production libraries. The correct answer is Option A. Production control group copy the source program to the production libraries and then compile the program. Copying the source code, the original human-readable instructions, eliminates the possibility of errors introduced during the compilation process in the test environment. These errors might not be present in the object code, compiled version, and could lead to problems in production. Using the source code ensures the production environment gets an exact replica of the program tested in the test environment. This promotes consistency and reduces the risk of unexpected behavior due to differences between compiled versions. Having the source code readily available in production allows for easier troubleshooting and future modifications if needed. Compiled object code can be less maintainable. Question number 39. How do data flow diagrams assist a CISA auditor in evaluating an organization's information security controls? Option A. Understand how data is generated. Option B. Study the order of data hierarchically. Option C. Review data flow diagram design. Option D. Review graphics of data paths and storage. The correct answer is Option D. Review graphics of data paths and storage. Data flow diagrams are graphical representations of the flow of data within a system, illustrating how data moves through processes, stores, and external entities. They are valuable tools for certified information systems auditors in evaluating an organization's information security controls. Data flow diagrams provide a visual representation of the paths that data takes within an organization's systems. By studying the data paths illustrated in data flow diagrams, auditors can identify potential weak points or bottlenecks in the flow of data. Data flow diagrams allow auditors to understand the scope of data flows within an organization's systems. Reviewing the design of data flow diagrams is essential for auditors to ensure their accuracy and completeness. Question number 40. Among the following, which is the most effective means of managing application maintenance? Option A, informing users of the status of changes. Option B, establishing priorities on program changes. Option C, obtaining user approval of program changes. Option D, requiring documented user specifications for changes. The correct answer is Option C, obtaining user approval of program changes. Effective management of application maintenance involves several key processes, but obtaining user approval of program changes stands out as the most critical. Involving users in the approval process ensures that changes to the application align with their needs and expectations. User approval acts as a safeguard against unauthorized or potentially disruptive changes to the application. Obtaining user approval ensures that program changes are prioritized based on their business value and impact. User approval adds accountability to the change management process by establishing a clear line of responsibility. Question number 41. When conducting a review of a purchase order system, what sampling approach could a CISA adopt to confirm whether purchase orders dispatched to vendors adhere to the authorization list? Option A, variable sampling. Option B, preventive control. Option C, unstratified mean per unit. Option D, attribute sampling. The correct answer is Option D, attribute sampling. The CISA's objective is to assess whether purchase orders comply with the authorization list. This means verifying if a specific characteristic is present, which is adherence to the list, or not present, which is deviation from the list. This technique focuses on qualitative characteristics of data points. In this case, the CISA is interested in whether a purchase order aligns with an authorized vendor or not. Attribute sampling allows the CISA to estimate the error rate within the population of all purchase orders. Question number 42. What actions might compromise the independence of an IS auditor during an application development review when they participate in development team meetings? Option A, assists in developing an integrated test facility on the system. Option B, reperforms test procedures used by the development team. Option C, designs and executes the user's acceptance test plan. Option D, reviews the result of systems tests that were performed by the development team. The correct answer is Option C, designs and executes the user's acceptance test plan. The UAT plan defines tests designed to ensure the application meets user needs. By creating and running these tests, the auditor becomes invested in the application's success. This can lead to confirmation bias, where they might overlook flaws or be hesitant to report issues due to their prior involvement. The auditor should review the UAT plan, but not be responsible for its creation or execution. Question number 43. What action should a CISA take next if they discover that there have been insufficient access calls made to a remote server during testing, making it an inadequate sample size? Option A, ignore it as there is too few samples. Option B, ask the IT team to provide a comprehensive list. Option C, find an alternative testing procedure. Option D, attempt dummy access using access to registered users. The correct answer is Option C, find an alternative testing procedure. The CISA identified an insufficient number of access calls made to the remote server during testing. This limited data set prevents a reliable assessment of access controls and potential vulnerabilities. By finding an alternative testing procedure, the CISA can adapt to the limited sample size and still gather valuable information about access controls for the remote server. This ensures a more comprehensive and risk-based approach to security testing. Question number 44. What would be the most effective means for an IS auditor to ascertain the effectiveness of controls governing system-generated exception reports among the following options? Option A, CEO confirms control effectiveness. Option B, review the access control for these reports. Option C, review the system-generated exception reports over a period. Option D, review template of the system-generated exception report. The correct answer is Option C, review the system-generated exception reports over a period. While a CEO might offer general assurance, they may not have the technical expertise to evaluate the effectiveness of specific controls, like exception report controls. By reviewing actual system-generated exception reports, the IS auditor gains first-hand evidence of how these controls function in practice. This approach provides a more reliable assessment of their effectiveness compared to theoretical reviews of templates or access controls. Question number 45. When conducting an audit of a high-volume online e-commerce business, which of the following audit techniques would be the most effective for preemptively evaluating emerging risks, as recommended by the CISA? Option A, reviewing controls and incidents. Option B, continuous auditing. Option C, sampling transaction logs. Option D, computer-assisted audit usage. The correct answer is Option B, continuous auditing. Continuous auditing involves ongoing monitoring of controls and processes. This allows real-time identification of potential risks before they escalate into significant issues. It's ideal for high-volume environments where threats can emerge quickly. In a high-volume e-commerce environment, where threats can evolve rapidly, continuous auditing provides the most effective approach for preemptively evaluating emerging risks, aligning with CISA recommendations for proactive risk management. Question number 46. How does a screening router analyze traffic as part of its operation? Option A, message header. Option B, virus payload. Option C, attachment type. Option D, message content. Option E, none of the choices. The correct answer is Option A, message header. Screening routers are a type of firewall that analyzes incoming and outgoing traffic based on information contained within the message header. This header includes source IP address, destination IP address, port number, and protocol. By analyzing these elements in the header, the screening router can make decisions about allowing or blocking traffic based on predefined rules. For example, a rule might block traffic originating from a specific IP address or deny access to certain ports associated with high-risk applications. Question number 47. What would be the IS auditor's first step in conducting a compliance audit for a defense organization that maintains an online system with sensitive data? Option A, review IS policies and procedures. Option B, review legal and regulatory requirements regarding data privacy. Option C, review asset register and IS organizational chart. Option D, review network and firewall controls of the online system. The correct answer is Option B, review legal and regulatory requirements regarding data privacy. By prioritizing a review of legal and regulatory requirements, the IS auditor establishes a clear direction for the compliance audit. This ensures the audit focuses on the most critical aspects of data privacy protection within the defense organization. Question number 48. What is the purpose of a CISA reviewing the organization chart during an audit? Option A, to understand how business is structured. Option B, to understand top management. Option C, to review communication channels. Option D, to understand individual roles, authority, and responsibility. The correct answer is Option D, to understand individual roles, authority, and responsibility. While the overall business structure and top management are important aspects, the organization chart plays a crucial role in revealing the details of individual roles, authority, and responsibility. This granular understanding is vital for the CISA to effectively evaluate the internal control framework and identify potential vulnerabilities. Question number 49. What should the IS auditor do after identifying that the configuration of a database application does not align with its initially planned structure? Option A. Determine if the modifications were properly approved. Option B. Analyze the need for the structural change. Option C. Recommend the implementation of a change control process. Option D. Recommend restoration to the originally designed structure. The correct answer is Option A. Determine if the modifications were properly approved. By first determining proper approval, the IS auditor can initiate a more comprehensive investigation. This approach emphasizes the importance of controlled change management and helps identify the most appropriate course of action for addressing the identified discrepancies in the database application. Question number 50. What approach would be the most effective for assisting in the prioritization of multiple projects within an organization's IT portfolio? Option A. Enterprise architecture. Option B. Industry trends. Option C. Business cases. Option D. Total cost of ownership. The correct answer is Option C. Business cases. By comprehensively analyzing the business case for each project, organizations can make informed decisions about which initiatives will deliver the greatest value and most effectively achieve their strategic objectives. This approach ensures IT project portfolios are aligned with business priorities and deliver tangible benefits. Question number 51. Disabling which of the following options should increase security of wireless network against unauthorized access? Option A. SSID broadcasting. Option B. WPA2. Option C. MAC address filtering. Option D. Encryption. The correct answer is Option A. SSID broadcasting. Hiding your SSID makes it invisible to those casually browsing for networks on their devices. This can deter someone looking to leech off your Wi-Fi or those who might be scanning for vulnerabilities in unsecured networks. In areas with many Wi-Fi networks, hiding yours can reduce clutter and make it easier for you to identify your own network among the neighbors. Question number 52. When considering data transmission within a LAN environment, which of the following options is most effective in preventing data corruption? Option A. Using end-to-end encryption for data communication. Option B. Using separate conduits for electrical and data cables. Option C. Using checksums for checking the corruption of data. Option D. Connecting the terminals using a star topology. The correct answer is Option C. Using checksums for checking the corruption of data. Checksums are a fundamental and efficient method for mitigating the risk of data corruption during transmission within LAN environments. Their real-time verification and minimal resource requirements make them a valuable tool for maintaining data integrity within your network. Question number 53. When considering a bring-your-own-device environment, which of the following information security requirements is the most beneficial for facilitating the tracking of organizational data? Option A. Employees must sign acknowledgement of the organization's mobile device acceptable use policy. Option B. Employees must enroll their personal device in the organization's mobile device management program. Option C. Employees must use auto-lock features and complex passwords on personal devices. Option D. Employees must immediately report lost or stolen mobile devices containing organizational data. The correct answer is Option B. Employees must enroll their personal devices in the organization's mobile device management program. By mandating employee enrollment in a robust MDM program, organizations can effectively track organizational data within a bring-your-own-device environment. MDM offers a centralized platform for managing, securing, and controlling access to sensitive information on employee devices, mitigating security risks and enhancing data protection. Question number 54. What should be the immediate response when new requirements are introduced during the course of an IS project, resulting in a change to the project's business case? Option A. The changes to the business case should be documented in the project plan. Option B. The project should go through the formal reapproval process. Option C. Project stakeholders should be notified of the changes. Option D. Additional resources should be allocated to the project due to the new requirements. The correct answer is Option C. Project stakeholders should be notified of the changes. The other options may also be necessary steps depending on the circumstances, but they do not address the overarching need for formal reapproval of the project in response to changes in the business case. While documenting changes in the project plan, allocating additional resources, and notifying stakeholders are important actions, they should be part of the broader process of re-evaluating and reapproving the project in light of the new requirements. Question number 55. Which sampling method would a CISA typically select when conducting an audit with an emphasis on compliance? Option A. Stratified mean per unit sampling. Option B. Attribute sampling. Option C. Variable sampling. Option D. Difference estimation sampling. The correct answer is Option B. Attribute sampling. Attribute sampling aligns perfectly with the needs of compliance audits. Its focus on control adherence, efficiency, and clear results make it a valuable tool for CISAs to assess internal control effectiveness and ensure adherence to established policies and procedures. Question number 56. Who should be assigned the primary responsibility for overseeing costs and schedules of system development projects among the listed groups or individuals? Option A. Project Steering Committee. Option B. User Management. Option C. Systems Development Management. Option D. Senior Management. The correct answer is Option C. Systems Development Management. Systems Development Management holds the primary responsibility for overseeing costs and schedules of system development projects. Their direct involvement, project planning expertise, and resource management skills make them uniquely qualified to ensure projects are delivered within budget and on time. While collaboration with other stakeholders, like user management and senior management, is crucial, the day-to-day responsibility for cost and schedule control rests with Systems Development Management. Question number 57. Which of the statements below does not accurately depict the control self-assessment approach? Option A. CSA is policy or rule-driven. Option B. CSA empowered or accountable employees. Option C. CSA focuses on continuous improvement or learning curve. Option D. In CSA, staffs at all levels, in all functions, are the primary control analyst. The correct answer is Option A. CSA is policy or rule-driven. Control self-assessment is a risk-based approach that empowers employees to assess the effectiveness of controls within their domain. It emphasizes continuous improvement and leverages the diverse perspectives of staff across all levels and functions, making it a valuable tool for organizations to enhance their risk management posture. Question number 58. What action should the CISA take when, just before a critical go-live of an e-commerce system, they conduct a penetration test yielding inconclusive results, and there is no time for further testing? Option A. Ask for a postponement of the scheduled go-live date till additional testing is carried out. Option B. Recommend audit postponement, as audit work cannot be completed within the agreed time frame. Option C. Prepare the audit report based on the available results and recommend follow-up audit testing. Option D. Prepare the audit report without published evidence of inconclusive testing. The correct answer is Option C. Prepare the audit report based on the available results and recommend follow-up audit testing. Since the go-live date is critical and there's no time for further testing, postponing the launch might cause significant disruptions. Inconclusive penetration test results indicate potential security vulnerabilities, but their exact nature might be unclear. The CISA should prioritize both business continuity and security. Hiding inconclusive results is unethical and could leave the system exposed. Question number 59. What is the most probable cause of a firewall breach among the following options? Option A, loophole in firewall vendor's code. Option B, virus infection. Option C, firewall misconfiguration by the administrator. Option D, use of a Trojan to bypass the firewall. The correct answer is Option C, firewall misconfiguration by the administrator. Firewall misconfiguration is a significant risk factor for breaches. By prioritizing proper configuration, keeping software updated, and implementing ongoing monitoring, organizations can significantly reduce the likelihood of firewall breaches and enhance their overall security posture. Question number 60. When an IS auditor observes that user IDs are shared among agents during customer account administration while reviewing a marketing services organization's logical access, what would be the most fitting course of action for the IS auditor to pursue? Option A, document findings which explain the risk of using shared IDs. Option B, review audit logs of all agent IDs. Option C, inform management about the issue. Option D, ask the IT security head to remove the IDs from the system. The correct answer is Option A, document findings which explain the risk of using shared IDs. By documenting the findings, explaining the risks, and then working collaboratively with management and IT security, the IS auditor can effectively address the security concern of shared user IDs and promote stronger access controls within the marketing services organization. Please hit the like button. Question number 61. What action should the IS auditor take next upon discovering significant degradation in the performance of an organization's network during an audit? Option A, check network devices. Option B, check network topology. Option C, check network protocols. Option D, check the antivirus controls. The correct answer is Option A, check network devices. Network devices like routers, switches, firewalls, and load balancers play a central role in network traffic management. Performance degradation can often be attributed to issues within these devices, such as hardware malfunctions, security incidents, and configuration errors. Hardware failures within network devices can significantly impact performance. Misconfigurations can lead to bottlenecks, routing problems, or excessive processing demands on devices. Denial of service attacks or resource-intensive malware can overload network devices and hinder performance. Question number 62. When a third-party contractor's employee causes sensitive data leakage, what measures should the organization prioritize in response? Option A, include security requirements in outsourcing contracts. Option B, terminate the agreement with the third-party contractor. Option C, activate the organization's incident response plan. Option D, limit access to the third-party contractor. The correct answer is Option C, activate the organization's incident response plan. A data leak can have serious consequences, so it's crucial to act quickly to contain the damage and prevent further exposure. The incident response plan outlines a clear course of action, including steps to identify the scope of the leak, notify affected individuals, and mitigate potential risks. A well-crafted incident response plan will address various aspects of the situation, including containment, investigation, remediation, recovery, and reporting. Question number 63. When examining the process for securing digital evidence, which discoveries would raise the most critical concerns for a CISA? Option A, the system was switched off by an investigator. Option B, during evidence retrieval, the data owner was absent. Option C, no logs were available for transportation of evidence. Option D, the contents of the systems were not systematically backed up. The correct answer is Option C, no logs were available for transportation of evidence. This principle is paramount in digital forensics. It establishes a clear and verifiable record of who handled the evidence, when, and where. Without documented transportation logs, the chain of custody is broken. This raises doubts about the evidence's integrity and could lead to its exclusion from court. The lack of documented transportation creates an opportunity for someone to tamper with the evidence during transit. This could involve modifying, replacing, or planting data, compromising the entire investigation. Question number 64. What should the CISA's next step be after finding a deficiency in the transaction authorization control objective caused by a lack of clearly defined roles and privileges in the application? Option A. Ask IT department for details of user access rights. Option B. Run a set of transactions as a sample and check authorization. Option C. Report the finding to audit management. Option D. Use a gas to check the controls. The correct answer is Option C. Report the finding to audit management. Ultimately, it's management's responsibility to address control deficiencies. Reporting the finding brings it to their attention, allowing them to take corrective action. A formal report documents the findings and provides a clear picture of the issue to management. This facilitates communication and ensures everyone is on the same page. Question number 65. What would constitute the most reliable evidence to support the current system configuration settings during a CISA review? Option A. Configuration audit report findings. Option B. System configuration settings screenshot. Option C. System configuration set provided by IS team. Option D. Report with configuration values retrieved from the system by the IS auditor. The correct answer is Option D. Report with configuration values retrieved from the system by the IS auditor. A report generated by the IS auditor after directly retrieving configuration values from the system offers the most reliable and unbiased evidence for a CISA review. It ensures the CISA has an accurate and complete picture of the current system configuration. Question number 66. How can IS auditors balance the request from audit management for auditing practices and checklists with their obligation to conduct the audit independently and objectively? Option A. Checklists should not be provided, as the IS auditor has already exposed the controls to be checked. Option B. Checklists should not be provided, as auditees could pre-prepare the audit systems. Option C. Checklists can be provided with the understanding that audit scope may cover areas not in the checklist. Option D. Checklists can be provided so that IT controls are strong. The correct answer is Option C. Checklists can be provided with the understanding that audit scope may cover areas not in the checklist. While complete independence is ideal, complete isolation from the auditee isn't practical. Checklists can be a collaborative tool to improve efficiency and ensure coverage of key controls. However, auditors must retain the right to explore beyond the checklist. Checklists can help identify common control deficiencies, but they shouldn't limit the audit scope. Auditors should use a risk-based approach to tailor the audit to the specific organization's vulnerabilities. New threats and vulnerabilities emerge constantly. Checklists might not capture every relevant control. Auditors need the flexibility to address these unforeseen issues. Question number 67. What methodology is recommended as the optimal approach for estimating the complexity associated with the development of a substantial business application? Option A. Critical path analysis. Option B. Work breakdown structure. Option C. Software cost estimation. Option D. Function point analysis. The correct answer is Option D. Function point analysis. Function point analysis appears to be the most suitable option among the given choices. FPA provides a structured approach to quantify the functionality of the business application, which can serve as a basis for assessing its complexity. By breaking down the application into measurable components, FPA allows for a more accurate estimation of the effort, resources, and time required for development. Additionally, FPA's focus on functionality aligns well with the complexity associated with building a substantial business application. Therefore, function point analysis is recommended as the optimal approach for estimating complexity in this context. Question number 68. What would be the initial focus of the IS auditor when tasked with reviewing management's risk assessment of information systems? Option A, effectiveness of the controls in place. Option B, mechanism for monitoring the risk related to the assets. Option C, controls already in place. Option D, threats or vulnerabilities affecting the assets. The correct answer is Option D, threats or vulnerabilities affecting the assets. Understanding the threats and vulnerabilities is the cornerstone of any risk assessment. These are the potential dangers that could exploit weaknesses in the system and cause harm. By identifying these first, the auditor can assess the likelihood and impact of each threat. Once threats are known, the auditor can then effectively evaluate the controls already in place to mitigate those threats. This avoids wasting time on irrelevant controls. Question number 69. After detecting unauthorized access cases during the assessment of a multinational corporation's identity management system, what is the recommended next step for a CISA? Option A, reprimand the managers who provide unauthorized access. Option B, stop the audit and report the problem. Option C, review all access controls. Option D, undertake an additional analysis. The correct answer is Option D, undertake an additional analysis. Stopping the entire audit might be too drastic, unless the unauthorized access is widespread and poses a significant immediate risk. There might be legitimate explanations for some cases. A review of all access controls is important, but it's a broader step that should be part of the additional analysis. This review will likely be informed by the specific details of the unauthorized access cases. Question number 70. What is a vital consideration in the selection and acquisition of the appropriate operating system software? Option A, purchasing department approval. Option B, competitive bids. Option C, hardware configuration analysis. Option D, user department approval. The correct answer is Option C, hardware configuration analysis. An operating system needs to be compatible with the underlying hardware of the system. This includes factors like processor type, memory capacity, storage space, and peripherals. Choosing an incompatible operating system could lead to performance issues, instability, or even complete system failure. The operating system relies on device drivers to interact with specific hardware components. Ensuring compatible drivers are available for the chosen operating system is crucial for proper functionality of all hardware components. Question number 71. What advantages does an integrated test facility offer that make it preferable for a CISA's use? Option A, a separate test process would not be required for need-based testing. Option B, it continuously validates application systems through real-time testing. Option C, it generates dummy test data. Option D, the source of the transaction is system-generated and needs no review. The correct answer is Option A, a separate test process would not be required for need-based testing. Separate testing processes can disrupt regular system operations. ITFs minimize this disruption by integrating test transactions seamlessly. ITFs allow CISAs to embed test transactions into the normal processing flow of the system. This eliminates the need for a separate testing environment and simplifies the testing process. By testing within the live system, ITFs provide a more realistic picture of how controls function under actual operating conditions. This can be more insightful than testing in a separate environment. Question number 72. What is the key element that holds the highest priority for an IS auditor to comprehend while planning an IS audit? Option A, number of high-risk auditable processes. Option B, availability of IS audit resources. Option C, inherent risk of auditable areas. Option D, management focus on particular operations. The correct answer is Option C, inherent risk of auditable areas. Inherent risk refers to the susceptibility of an information system or process to error or fraud before considering any controls. Understanding this inherent risk forms the foundation for the entire IS audit plan. By prioritizing areas with the highest inherent risk, the IS auditor can allocate resources effectively and focus on the most critical areas where controls are most essential. Knowing the inherent risk allows the auditor to tailor specific audit procedures to address those risks. For example, high-risk areas might require more extensive testing compared to low-risk areas. Question number 73. Which technique is considered the most reliable for enhancing the authenticity and confidentiality of an email message? Option A, receiver's private key, and encrypting the message using the sender's public key. Option B, sender's private key, and encrypting the message using the receiver's public key. Option C, receiver's public key, and encrypting the message using the sender's private key. Option D, sender's public key, and encrypting the message using the receiver's private key. The correct answer is Option B, sender's private key, and encrypting the message using the receiver's public key. This method utilizes public key cryptography, a core concept in modern encryption. Each user has a key pair, a public key and a private key. The message is encrypted with the receiver's public key. Only the corresponding private key can decrypt it. This ensures only the intended recipient can access the message content. Question number 74. What is the principal duty that an IS auditor should prioritize when engaged in a data center renovation project? Option A, providing sign-off on the design of controls for the data center. Option B, performing day-to-day activities to ensure the successful completion of the project. Option C, performing independent reviews of responsible parties engaged in the project. Option D, ensuring the project progresses as scheduled and milestones are achieved. The correct answer is Option A, providing sign-off on the design of controls for the data center. An IS auditor's primary function is to ensure the security and integrity of information systems. Data center renovations pose significant security risks if proper controls aren't implemented. IS auditors possess the knowledge and expertise to evaluate the proposed controls for the new data center design. They can assess whether the controls are adequate to mitigate identified risks and align with best practices. Question number 75. When reviewing an IT organization that grants internet-based access to its systems, the IS auditor is unsure if a thorough examination of network security components, including firewall and VPN settings, is necessary. What steps should the IS auditor consider next? Option A, request audit management for pertinent access controls. Option B, add an auditor who is technically competent to handle this. Option C, conduct and document a risk analysis. Option D, check IS auditing guidelines. The correct answer is Option C, conduct and document a risk analysis. A risk assessment is the foundation for any IS audit. It helps identify potential threats and vulnerabilities and determines the likelihood and impact of those risks. This information is crucial for deciding the scope and depth of the audit, including network security. If the risk analysis reveals significant risks associated with internet access, it justifies a thorough examination of network security components, like firewalls and VPNs. Question number 76. When assessing how the organization's incident response team manages devices that may be involved in criminal activity, what is the most vital point for an IS auditor to identify? Option A, whether there is a chain of custody for the devices. Option B, whether devices are checked for malicious applications. Option C, whether the access logs are checked before seizing the devices. Option D, whether users have knowledge of their devices being examined. The correct answer is Option A, whether there is a chain of custody for the devices. A chain of custody documents the history of a device's handling, from seizure to final disposition. This establishes a clear record of who had access to the device and when, ensuring the evidence remains unmodified and admissible in court if necessary. Many legal requirements mandate proper chain of custody procedures for digital evidence. Failure to maintain a chain of custody could render the evidence inadmissible in court, hindering any legal action related to the criminal activity. Question number 77. What statement about the traditional audit approach is not accurate in relation to the control self-assessment approach? Option A, traditional approach assigns duties or supervises staff. Option B, traditional approach is a policy-driven approach. Option C, traditional approach requires limited employee participations. Option D, in traditional approach, staffs at all levels, in all functions, are the primary control analyst. The correct answer is Option D, in traditional approach, staffs at all levels, in all functions, are the primary control analyst. In a traditional audit, a designated internal audit team with specific skills and expertise conducts the control assessment. This team is responsible for gathering evidence, evaluating controls, and identifying any weaknesses. Question number 78. Which audit practice is most recommended by IS auditors for assessing the proper application of controls to transaction processing to ensure operational effectiveness? Option A, testing of controls. Option B, substantive testing. Option C, interviews with personnel. Option D, documentation review. The correct answer is Option A, testing of controls. Testing of controls involves performing walkthroughs or simulated transactions through the system. This allows auditors to directly observe how controls are applied in practice. By observing the application of controls, auditors can assess whether the controls are functioning as intended and effectively mitigating identified risks related to transaction processing. Testing controls can also reveal inefficiencies in the control procedures themselves. This can help identify opportunities to streamline processes and improve operational effectiveness. Question number 79. What technique is considered the most effective among the options provided for managing the spread of a network worm that exploits a vulnerability in a protocol? Option A, stop the service until an appropriate security fix is installed. Option B, block the protocol traffic between internal network segments. Option C, install the vendor's security fix for the vulnerability. Option D, block the protocol traffic in the perimeter firewall. The correct answer is Option A, stop the service until an appropriate security fix is installed. Stopping the service can immediately halt the spread of the worm within the network. This might be a viable option if the situation demands a very rapid response to contain the outbreak. Question number 80. What is the next step for the CISA after being asked to review the work of an outsourced provider managing backup and batch processing for the IS department? Option A, review the outsourced provider's contractual agreements. Option B, review the audit of the service provider. Option C, review the service level agreements and the service delivery reports. Option D, include an audit of the outsourced service provider. The correct answer is Option C, review the service level agreements and the service delivery reports. SLAs outline the expected level of service from the outsourced provider. They detail performance metrics such as uptime, recovery times that the provider must meet. Service delivery reports document the provider's actual performance against these metrics. By reviewing both the documents, the CISA can assess the efficiency and effectiveness of the outsourced arrangement for backup and batch processing. Question number 81. What considerations drive the determination of data collection extent in an IS audit? Option A, purpose and scope of the audit being done. Option B, auditor's familiarity with the organization. Option C, auditor's familiarity with business processes. Option D, availability of evidence. The correct answer is Option A, purpose and scope of the audit being done. This defines the entire reason for the audit. Are you investigating a specific control failure, assessing overall IT governance, or something else entirely? The purpose will dictate what information is most relevant and how much detail is needed. Similar to business process knowledge, familiarity with the organization can help identify areas of potential risk, but it shouldn't solely determine data collection extent. Question number 82. What benefit does the continuous audit approach offer? Option A, it ensures controls are enforced and monitored by the IT department. Option B, it makes data sampling easy. Option C, it does not require an auditor to collect evidence. Option D, it ensures review and follow-up on audit issues in a timely manner. The correct answer is Option D, it ensures review and follow-up on audit issues in a timely manner. Continuous auditing involves ongoing monitoring of controls and transactions. This allows for the identification of potential issues much sooner than traditional, periodic audits. Early detection enables prompt investigation and corrective action. Continuous auditing doesn't eliminate evidence collection. However, it can help identify areas where specific evidence is needed, streamlining the collection process. Question number 83. An IS auditor is evaluating the collective effect of preventive, detective, and corrective controls within a process. Which of the following is true in this instance? Option A, asset owners indicate the missing controls. Option B, the point at which controls are exercised, as data flow through the system. Option C, corrective controls are compensating controls. Option D, preventive and detective controls are most significant. The correct answer is Option B, the point at which controls are exercised, as data flow through the system. Continuous auditing involves ongoing monitoring of controls and transactions. This allows for the identification of potential issues much sooner than traditional, periodic audits. Early detection enables prompt investigation and corrective action. Continuous auditing doesn't eliminate evidence collection. However, it can help identify areas where specific evidence is needed, streamlining the collection process. Question number 84. What is the primary focus for an IS auditor when beginning the planning stage of a customer data privacy audit? Option A, organizational policies and procedures. Option B, customer agreements. Option C, legal and compliance requirements. Option D, data classification. The correct answer is Option C, legal and compliance requirements. Understanding the relevant data privacy laws sets the groundwork for the entire audit. These regulations define the specific obligations regarding customer data collection, storage, usage, and security. Legal requirements act as the benchmark for assessing the organization's data privacy practices. The audit will evaluate how well the organization adheres to these regulations. Question number 85. When evaluating a recovery point objective, what signifies its critical importance? Option A, medium. Option B, large. Option C, small. Option D, large than industry standards. The correct answer is Option C, small. A small RPO indicates a shorter time frame for acceptable data loss after a disaster or system failure. This translates to minimizing the amount of data lost during an outage. Businesses rely on up-to-date data to function effectively. A small RPO ensures a quicker recovery to a state, with minimal data loss, enabling faster resumption of critical operations. Question number 86. When revisiting previous audit findings and informed by management that a recommendation concerning security alterations to an application remains unimplemented, what should the IS auditor prioritize in their assessment? Option A, the associated risk is still relevant. Option B, additional time to implement changes is needed. Option C, the recommendation should be reissue. Option D, the issue should be escalate. The correct answer is Option B, additional time to implement changes is needed. The primary concern is whether the unimplemented security changes expose the application to significant vulnerabilities. If the risk has been mitigated by other means, the urgency of implementing the original recommendation might be lower. IS audits follow a risk-based approach. Understanding the current risk allows the auditor to prioritize their actions. If the risk is high, further investigation and potentially escalation might be necessary. If the risk is low, alternative solutions might be explored. Question number 87. In operating systems architecture, what is the term that refers to the mechanism ensuring compliance with the security policy by checking each request from a subject to access and utilize an object? Option A, Reverse Address Resolution Protocol. Option B, Access Control Analyzer. Option C, Reference Monitor. Option D, Address Resolution Protocol. The correct answer is Option C, Reference Monitor. A reference monitor acts as a gatekeeper, ensuring every request to access or utilize an object from a subject adheres to the defined security policy. The primary function of a reference monitor is access control. It verifies if a subject has the necessary permissions to perform the requested operation on an object based on the security policy. Properties of a reference monitor are non-bypassable, tamper-proof, and verifiable. The other options provided are not directly related to access control enforcement within an operating system. Question number 88. From the following options, what evidence would an IS auditor consider the most trustworthy when performing an audit? Option A, top management assuring that application controls are available. Option B, official confirmation from a bank verifying an account balance. Option C, IS auditor previous year report showing conformance. Option D, data downloaded from internet. The correct answer is Option B, official confirmation from a bank verifying an account balance. A confirmation letter directly from a trusted third party provides independent verification of the information being audited. This reduces the risk of bias or manipulation by the organization being audited. Financial institutions like banks have robust procedures for maintaining accurate account information. An official confirmation from them strengthens the auditor's confidence in the data's accuracy. Question number 89. An organization's security policy mandates passwords to include both letters and numbers. What recommendation should an IS auditor make to guarantee adherence to this policy? Option A, passwords be periodically changed. Option B, an automated password management tool be used. Option C, the company policy be changed. Option D, security awareness training be delivered. The correct answer is Option B, an automated password management tool be used. Automated password management tools can be configured to enforce complexity requirements defined in the security policy, including mandating a combination of letters and numbers. This ensures users create passwords that meet the policy criteria. While users can create complex passwords manually, it can be challenging to remember them. Password management tools eliminate this burden by generating and storing strong, unique passwords for each application. Hence, by recommending an automated password management tool, the IS auditor suggests a solution that directly addresses the challenge of enforcing password complexity, as defined in the security policy. This approach reduces the burden on users while ensuring strong passwords are used. Question number 90. A biometric access device is installed to control access to a facility. What kind of control is this implementation classified as? Option A, preventive. Option B, corrective. Option C, deterrent. Option D, detective. The correct answer is Option A, preventive. Preventive controls aim to stop security incidents from happening in the first place. A biometric access device restricts unauthorized access to the facility, preventing potential security breaches or theft. This control mechanism proactively prevents unauthorized individuals from entering the building. Hence, the biometric access device acts as a preventive measure by restricting access and stopping unauthorized entry before it occurs. Question number 91. An IS audit is being conducted, and unit testing results show that individual program modules function properly. What action should the IS auditor most likely take next? Option A, conclude that system as a whole can produce the desired results. Option B, review the findings of integrated test. Option C, conduct the test again to confirm the findings. Option D, document the test result as a proof for system functionality. The correct answer is Option B, review the findings of integrated test. Unit testing focuses on verifying the functionality of individual modules in isolation. While successful unit tests indicate the modules themselves work correctly, they don't guarantee the entire system functions as intended. Integration testing examines how different modules interact and communicate with each other. This is crucial because even if individual modules work well in isolation, there could be issues with how they integrate and produce the desired system-level results. Question number 92. An audit identified that suppliers with standing orders were mistakenly deleted from the master file. Which control would most effectively prevent similar incidents in the future? Option A, logical relationship check. Option B, referential integrity. Option C, existence check. Option D, table lookups. The correct answer is Option B, referential integrity. Referential integrity ensures that relationships between tables are maintained, typically through the use of foreign key constraints. When a record in one table references a record in another table, referential integrity ensures that the referenced record exists and remains consistent. By enforcing referential integrity, accidental deletions of reference data would be prevented, thereby mitigating the risk of similar incidents occurring in the future. With referential integrity in place, deleting a supplier with existing standing orders would be restricted. The system would recognize the violation of the defined relationship and prevent the deletion from occurring. Question number 93. A CISA is requested to perform a post-implementation review of an application, but declines due to concerns about compromised independence. What ethical standards could justify this decision? Option A, audited the application during testing. Option B, mentored the project manager of the application on the best practices in development. Option C, was a development team member who implemented specific functionalities during. Option D, was a quality assurance team member who reviewed the application. The correct answer is Option A, audited the application during testing. The Certified Information Systems Auditor's independence is compromised due to being a team member participating in the development, acquisition, and implementation of the application for several reasons. A core principle of ethical auditing is maintaining objectivity and impartiality. The CISA's involvement in the application's lifecycle could create a bias towards the application. To ensure objectivity and maintain the integrity of the review process, it's crucial to assign a CISA who is not involved in any aspect of the application's development, acquisition, or implementation. This ensures an impartial assessment of the application's effectiveness and potential areas for improvement. Question number 94. What are some key elements for establishing a successful control self-assessment program? Option A, implement stringent control policy. Option B, design stringent control policy. Option C, have line managers take responsibility for control monitoring. Option D, have auditors take responsibility for control monitoring. The correct answer is Option C, have line managers take responsibility for control monitoring. Line managers, who own the processes being assessed, are best positioned to understand the intricacies of those processes and how controls are implemented in practice. They can provide a more accurate assessment of control effectiveness than someone who may not be as familiar with the day-to-day operations. Control monitoring becomes an integral part of daily operations when line managers take responsibility. This fosters a culture of continuous improvement and risk management. Hence, empowering line managers to take ownership of control monitoring is a critical element for a successful control self-assessment program. This approach leverages their process knowledge, fosters accountability, and integrates control monitoring into daily operations. Question number 95. Single sign-on offers convenience, but it also introduces a significant security risk. What is one of the primary security concerns associated with SSO implementations? Option A, has a single authentication point. Option B, represents a single point of failure. Option C, leads to a lockout of valid users. Option D, causes an administrative bottleneck. The correct answer is Option A has a single authentication point. SSO relies on a single point of authentication. If an attacker compromises the SSO login credentials, they potentially gain access to all authorized applications and systems linked to that SSO system. This can be a major security breach. The single point of authentication in SSO creates a scenario where compromising one set of credentials can grant access to a multitude of systems. This is why it's crucial to implement strong authentication mechanisms and security measures around the SSO system itself. Question number 96. An IS audit identifies signs suggestive of fraud. What is the most appropriate next step for the IS auditor? Option A, report the matter to the audit committee. Option B, expand activities to determine whether an investigation is warranted. Option C, report the possibility of fraud to top management and ask how they would like to proceed. Option D, consult with external legal counsel to determine the course of action to be taken. The correct answer is Option B, expand activities to determine whether an investigation is warranted. An IS auditor's responsibilities for detecting fraud include evaluating fraud indicators and deciding whether any additional action is necessary or whether an investigation should be recommended. At this stage, the IS auditor has initial suspicions, but more evidence is needed to determine the extent and nature of the potential fraud. Expanding the audit scope allows the auditor to gather additional information and confirm or dispel the initial concerns. The IS auditor should notify the appropriate authorities within the organization only if it has determined that the indicators of fraud are sufficient to recommend an investigation. Normally, the IS auditor does not have authority to consult with external legal counsel. Question number 97. A CISA is planning an IS compliance audit. What factors would most significantly influence the amount of data needed to be collected? Option A, purpose, objective, and scope of the audit. Option B, CISA's understanding of the organization's business. Option C, previous year's audit findings. Option D, organization size and nature of business. The correct answer is Option A, purpose, objective, and scope of the audit. The purpose, objectives, and scope of the audit define what specific areas of the IS environment will be examined. This directly impacts the type and amount of data required for the audit. A broad scope encompassing all aspects of IS controls might necessitate collecting a large volume of data. A focused audit targeting a specific control area would require data specific to that area. In conclusion, the purpose, objectives, and scope of the IS compliance audit are the most critical factors in determining the extent of data collection. These elements define the specific areas of focus and the type of data required to achieve the audit's objectives. Question number 98. An IS audit reveals that management hasn't reviewed and approved the business continuity plan. What is the most significant risk arising from this situation? Option A, critical business processes may not be addressed adequately. Option B, continuity planning may be subject to resource constraints. Option C, the plan may not be aligned with industry best practice. Option D, the plan has not been reviewed by risk management. The correct answer is Option A, critical business processes may not be addressed adequately. Management review and approval signify their understanding and commitment to the BCP. Without this involvement, critical business processes might be overlooked or inadequately addressed in the plan. This could lead to a situation where the BCP fails to ensure the recovery of essential functions in the event of a disruption. Hence, the most significant risk of an unreviewed and unapproved BCP is that critical business processes might not be adequately addressed, potentially leading to a dysfunctional recovery effort in the event of a disruption. Management's involvement and approval are crucial for ensuring the BCP effectively safeguards essential business functions. Question number 99. How do data flow diagrams assist IS auditors in understanding information systems? Option A, highlight high-level data definitions. Option B, portray step-by-step details of data generation. Option C, graphically summarize data paths and storage. Option D, ordered data hierarchically. The correct answer is Option C, graphically summarize data paths and storage. DFDs are graphical tools that depict the flow of data through a system. They use symbols to represent data sources, data destinations, processes, and data stores. This visual representation allows IS auditors to. DFDs provide a high-level overview of how data moves through the system, helping auditors grasp the system's overall functionality. By visualizing data flow, auditors can identify points where controls can be implemented to safeguard data integrity and security. Question number 100. An audit charter is a crucial document for any audit. What are some key principles this charter should embody? Option A, describe all the audit procedures to achieve the objectives. Option B, detail the authority, scope, and responsibilities of the audit function. Option C, ensure it meets the needs of the auditee management. Option D, describe the audit objectives and review of internal controls. The correct answer is Option B, detail the authority, scope, and responsibilities of the audit function. The charter outlines the boundaries and expectations for the audit function. It clarifies the audit team's authority to conduct reviews, the scope of areas they can examine, and the responsibilities they have throughout the audit process. This transparency promotes a smooth and collaborative audit environment. Question number 101. When an organization utilizes a framework to guide its IT governance, what is the most significant advantage gained? Option A, it enables improvements to the security of high-risk systems in the organization. Option B, it enables consistency when making strategic IT investments across the organization. Option C, it enables better management of the annual IT budget provided by the board of directors. Option D, it enables the achievement of service levels between IT and true business departments. The correct answer is Option B, it enables consistency when making strategic IT investments across the organization. IT governance frameworks help ensure that IT investments are aligned with the overall business strategy. The framework provides a structured approach for evaluating IT investments based on their contribution to business goals. This reduces the risk of making ad hoc IT decisions that don't support strategic objectives. Question number 102. Software goes through various releases during its lifecycle. Which type of release typically introduces significant changes or new functionalities? Option A, major software release. Option B, general software release. Option C, emergency software release. Option D, minor software release. The correct answer is Option A, major software release. Major releases are planned updates designed to introduce substantial changes, enhancements, or entirely new functionalities to the software. They often involve significant development efforts and might require user training due to the introduction of new features. Understanding software release types is crucial for IS auditors. Major software releases are the ones that introduce significant changes or new functionalities, and these updates warrant particular attention during an audit to assess potential risks associated with the new features and ensure proper implementation. Question number 103. An audit identified data breaches involving unattended laptops with sensitive customer data. What is the most effective recommendation an IS auditor can make to prevent similar incidents? Option A, encrypt the disk drive. Option B, require the use of cable locks. Option C, require two-factor authentication. Option D, enhance physical security. The correct answer is Option A, encrypt the disk drive. Encryption scrambles data on the disk drive, rendering it unreadable to unauthorized users. Even if a laptop is stolen, the data remains protected without the decryption key. This significantly reduces the risk of compromised customer information in case of physical theft. An IS auditor might recommend a combination of security measures, including encryption, physical security enhancements, and user awareness training, to emphasize the importance of securing laptops and sensitive data. Question number 104. An IS audit is assessing an organization's information security measures for third-party vendors. What should be the auditor's primary focus when evaluating these controls? Option A, the organization is still responsible for protecting the data. Option B, non-compliance is easily detected. Option C, the same procedures and controls are used for all third-party vendors. Option D, the third-party vendors have their own information security requirements. The correct answer is Option A, the organization is still responsible for protecting the data. Even though the organization might utilize third-party vendors, the ultimate responsibility for safeguarding the data it shares with them remains with the organization itself. A data breach at a vendor can still expose the organization's data and damage its reputation. Question number 105. What is the primary purpose of a security audit performed by CISA professionals? Option A, to evaluate the effectiveness of security measures. Option B, to assess compliance with ITIL processes. Option C, to identify software vulnerabilities. Option D, to test the performance of hardware components. The correct answer is Option A, to evaluate the effectiveness of security measures. CISA professionals are certified in information security auditing. Their primary focus during security audits is to assess the organization's overall security posture. This involves evaluating the effectiveness of existing security measures in place to safeguard information systems, data, and assets. This helps identify weaknesses and areas for improvement to strengthen the organization's overall security stance. Question number 106. What element has the most significant impact on the processing power and cost required for encryption? Option A, a long symmetric encryption key. Option B, a long advanced encryption standard key. Option C, a long asymmetric encryption key. Option D, a long data encryption standard key. The correct answer is Option C, a long asymmetric encryption key. Encryption algorithms can be categorized into symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric algorithms use the same key for both encryption and decryption, while asymmetric algorithms use a key pair consisting of a public key and a private key. Asymmetric encryption algorithms, particularly with longer key lengths, are computationally more intensive compared to symmetric algorithms. Longer keys take more time to process, impacting overall encryption or decryption speed. Systems might need more powerful processors or additional hardware acceleration to handle the computational demands of long asymmetric keys. Question number 107. Network performance is measured using various metrics. Which term specifically refers to the percentage or fraction of bits that are corrupted during transmission? Option A, throughput. Option B, error rate. Option C, bandwidth. Option D, latency. The correct answer is Option B, error rate. Error rate measures the ratio of corrupted bits received to the total number of bits transmitted over a communication channel. It's expressed as a percentage or fraction, indicating the prevalence of errors within the data transfer. This metric helps assess data integrity and identify potential network issues that might be causing data corruption. Question number 108. An IS auditor is examining an automated change control system. Which of the following elements would not be part of the review? Option A, log files. Option B, license agreements. Option C, access lists. Option D, rules. The correct answer is Option B, license agreements. An automated change control system manages the process for approving, implementing, and documenting IT infrastructure changes. An IS auditor's primary focus during the review would be on the effectiveness of the system in controlling changes and mitigating risks. License agreements, while important for software or hardware usage rights, are not directly relevant to the core functionality and effectiveness of the change control process. Question number 109. Within an organization, what is the primary objective of the internal IS audit function? Option A, provide assurance to management about the effectiveness of the organization's risk management and internal controls. Option B, independently attest the organization's compliance with applicable legal and regulatory requirements. Option C, identify and initiate necessary changes in the control environment to help ensure sustainable improvement. Option D, review the organization's policies and procedures against industry best practice and standards. The correct answer is Option A, provide assurance to management about the effectiveness of the organization's risk management and internal controls. The internal IS audit function operates independently from management. Its primary focus is to provide an objective assessment of the organization's risk management practices and the effectiveness of internal controls in mitigating those risks. This independent perspective helps ensure management receives unbiased feedback on the organization's control environment. The internal IS audit function plays a critical role in providing independent assurance to management about the effectiveness of risk management and internal controls. This independent assessment helps organizations identify weaknesses, manage risks effectively, and improve their overall control environment. Question number 110. During incident management, what practice most significantly contributes to quicker resolution and minimize downtime from unexpected outages? Option A, ensuring the service desk is trained on issue resolution. Option B, ensuring the service desk has access to catalogs of known errors. Option C, ensuring incidents with unknown root causes are escalated. Option D, ensuring IT systems are monitored on a continual basis. The correct answer is Option D, ensuring IT systems are monitored on a continual basis. Continuous monitoring allows for early detection of potential incidents. This enables the IT team to react quickly and address issues before they escalate into major outages, minimizing downtime. By proactively identifying potential problems, IT teams can take steps to mitigate them or address them quickly, minimizing the impact on users and reducing downtime from unexpected outages. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.